Make you one of them
garlic.
spaghetti noodle sandwiches, baby.
Make you instead of peanut butter, make it like I don't know what's a good Italian nut. I'm not sure.
Spaghetti nut.
Spaghetti
Make a
spaghetti
spaghetti
nut squash.
butter.
Make a spaghetti nut squash.
Oh no, here's what you do. Okay, I got it. Oh, yes. So you take you toast your bread, and then you make your garlic jam or your garlic jelly or your garlic preserves, whatever you want to do, and you
Right.
spread it on there, and then you make like a basil oregano butter or something, and then
Oh
you
yeah.
put that on the other side, a little bit of cheese in there, slam them breads together, baby.
Oh man. Got my mouth watering over here, dog.
Welcome to the Flavor Savors, a podcast where two donuts talk about a bunch of schnitzel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Dick.
What's up, Taterheads? Welcome to the January 21st, 2022 edition of the Flavor Savors. I'm Mike.
And I'm Dick. On this episode of the Flavor Savors, we're going to be putting flavors of jams and jellies against each other.
Against each other. What do you mean?
Like jams versus jellies versus preserves versus marmalades versus chutneys versus compotes or compotes,
Gotcha.
if you will.
Compotes.
Which one's the best? Why we think that way? Different aspects that we can match them against each other to figure out how they're the same, how they're different, what makes one thing the one thing and not the other thing, because they're all the
Like
same
that.
ingredients pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an apple jam, jelly, preserve, marmalade. Well, I don't know if you can make a marmalade, but I digress. Yeah, yeah. Let's see what we can do to figure out which ones are the best, and then which ones of those are the best against each other. I think we've
Yeah.
talked before about. I think we talked in episode 2. I'm just kind of stuck on the pear preserve train, man. But when it comes to the other things, like when we're talking about strictly jams, uh, I gotta say one of the berries, either strawberry or blackberry, um, is probably my favorite. And then jellies, for some strange reason, apple.
Yeah, apple jelly's no, because that's
It's very classic. It's very.
yeah, it's
I don't want to
light
say
too.
plain and make. Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I don't want to say plain and make it sound like it's
No,
just
no,
apple
no,
jelly.
but it's
But it's
it's that
very.
light fruit flavor. It's good.
Yeah, it's not overwhelming. So you can taste it, but you still get to taste the vehicle that it's on as well,
Yeah.
or whatever you're pairing it with. Yeah. So if we're talking jams, we're talking strawberry or blackberry. Jellies would have to be apple. Preserves, of course, is pear. I'm not a huge fan of marmalades, but I think I mentioned last episode that I do like. I have had a grapefruit marmalade, and that was really good.
Yeah,
Surprisingly good.
that well, no, because that sour bitter with that
Yeah.
sugar, and plus you put the salt in there when you make it, um, to
Oh
kind of
yeah, and
block
that
some of those bitters, and it pairs with it makes this, because I'm the same way. Grapefruit marmalade, oh man, that's so good.
yeah. I think a lot of people fail. You mentioned salt. I think a lot of people fail to realize that salt is a flavor enhancer. Salt, has a very specific taste of its own, but when you add it to things, you lose the salt flavor sometimes, but it brings out whatever flavor you've added the salt to. That's why you see a lot of salt. That's why you see salt in a lot of cakes and pies and stuff like that.
Well, not only
It's a
that, but
flavor enhancer.
it's a bitter blocker. So when the salt crystals hit your tongue, they cover up the receptors that intake bitters.
Interesting.
So bitters don't actually get to hit the taste buds that they're supposed to hit.
Is this one of those things where you know more than I do about it? You've researched and I have.
No, this is actually an Alton Brown thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I probably have seen it before then.
Yeah,
I
this
do
is
like me
something
some
I've
Alton Brown
learned
bread.
off of Good Eats, actually.
I do like watching him.
Yeah.
He
Good Eats
has
was a good show.
very specific way of teaching people, and it's a way that I like. So,
Well, he hires scientists to come on the show and
yeah.
do the, so
Well, he started off as just wanting to be a filmmaker. Like he just wanted to do film and television and stuff like that, and he moved into the food realm when food shows began to be more and more, and got more and more popular. He moved into that realm, and that's how he ended up doing what he's doing. He started off as a filmmaker first and a culinary guy second.
yeah.
So and that was he's even said that's his goal, is to teach people the science of cooking. So I think it's great. But we digress. We get off on a different topic.
We're just fans because the
Yeah.
science of cooking is one of the reasons I got into cooking. Is
Emeril Lagasse is the reason why I started watching Food Network. Alton Brown is the reason why I continued to watch it.
like the reason I got into food, that was way back in the day. That would have been like Yan Can Cook, Wolfgang Puck,
Justin Wilson.
Justin Wilson.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, because I remember there used to be a triple block on PBS. It was Julia Child, and then it was Justin Wilson, and then it was Martin Yan. Back to back on PBS. I used to sit and watch them. It was great.
Wolfgang Puck would come on shows and stuff too. It was nice.
I loved it.
Yeah.
That was the golden age of television.
Yeah, and you would sit there Sunday, Saturday, I can't remember the day it came on, but you would sit there and watch the show and learn these little things, and then they would have jokes that were over your head, but you didn't care because you were just sitting there watching food that you never going to eat.
Yeah, you were just interested in seeing. I mean, because that's how you learn. That's how you learn there's more than just your regional flavors. Because growing up in the South, in the age that we grew up, there were 3 channels. So you ate what mom and dad fixed, and you maybe went to a restaurant every now and then, and that was it. And then when we started seeing these people on TV, you were like, "Oh, that's cool. How do you do that?" And then that's how we learned to cook, because their parents, my parents specifically, my parents and my grandparents learned to cook from their parents and the people that raised them and stuff. They didn't really broaden their spectrum a whole lot outside of what they knew the regional flavors were. But like my mom and dad started going towards the Asian cooking, with like we would have at least once a month we would have chicken chow mein and fried rice. And granted, it was boxed stuff and canned stuff, but still it was something different than meatloaf and gravy or fried chicken or whatever, grits and stuff for breakfast. It was something different.
Yeah, we would have like 10-cent macaroni and cheese box with lump of frozen hamburger. Make sure there's salt and pepper on it, and then that's a meal. And then you would see people making, for instance, preservatives, marmalades, jams, and they were doing weird things that you didn't think were allowed. And like, oh, you can just do things?
You can just make this happen.
Yeah, there's some basic rules, but then you just do whatever. That's cool. That's nice. It's good times. Good times.
Yeah. See, I don't know that my mom or dad ever did jams and jellies. I know my grandmother did a little bit. And then my ex-mother-in-law did. That woman would just absolutely go to town on canned goods. Pickled okra and jams, jellies, regular pickles, whatever. I mean, she was real good. And that's part of what got me wanting to do canning. Was my dad did pickled okra back in the day, and pickled jalapenos. I think that's basically all he ever really did. But just that, and then being around my ex-mother-in-law who was doing all that stuff. I really enjoyed the notion of being able to put stuff on my shelf that'll feed my family well after the growing season, which is, kind of goes back to the homesteading nature that we're into right now.
Southern Dreams Homestead. You'll find the
That's right.
links in all the places that you find in this. Just look in descriptions. There's a list of links. It's one of them. Click it, go there. You'll
Check
find
it out.
stuff. Yeah, you'll find stuff from here going to there. You'll find stuff from there coming to here because it's
Yep.
all.
We're all the same people.
Not only that, but anything that they're going to talk about food over there, we're probably talking about food over here because we're going to talk about all food.
Yeah, if we haven't already talked about it, we will talk about it, and we'll deep dive. Like a blog post over there will probably tell you uh, why we make it like this and how we do this and blah 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 blah. But it's not going to deep dive into the subject like we have specifically this month with jams and jellies. Man, we've covered just about everything we could possibly think of. And if we've missed something, you guys feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about, because we will read those comments and we will go back and hit on some of the things that you guys mentioned. So if you got anything you want us to talk about, by all means, leave us a comment about it.
Well, I mean, we've talked about most of the things, but now we're going to, like I said, put it all together and make them go head to head in like a battle of non-combat and see what's going on. But also, we made jokes on episode 1, I think, 2 weeks ago, and about, oh, cherry brisket jam, ha ha ha. It's so funny. But then I made a cherry brisket jam. You're going to see about that next week. So even after we deep dive, we still are going in and we're making recipes. You're going to see a bacon jam next week from Mike.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
We're,
I haven't made it yet, but I'm excited to get that made, because that'll be something new for me to try. But we love bacon. Why not throw that stuff into a jam?
so no, even when we're done just deep diving and beating a subject to death, we are going to go, oh, also, here's some recipes that we made. Found out in my recipe, because of the meat, it got a little stiff. It's not gummy bear texture, but man, that is one stiff upper jam.
How do you combat that extra liquid?
Yeah, that's the only thing I could think is just add or less pectin maybe.
Yeah, maybe less pectin.
I didn't think about the congealing of all that brisket fat, and it really
That's a good point.
affected the thickness of my jam. Like it's
The
still
only way to,
spreadable and everything, but man, it's thick.
how fine did you chop the brisket?
Oh yeah, fine, fine, fine. And then
Fine.
I chopped it fine, and then well, I mean we're going to get into it, but I chopped it fine, and then I put it in cherry juice, and cooked all the cherry juice out, and then let that brisket sit and almost like fry like bacon.
Oh man.
And then I added all the liquids and all the cherries and all the blah blah blah, and then I boiled that, and then I added my sugar. Blah. Blah. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. It's
Oh
amazing.
yeah. Oh yeah. We'll definitely hit on that next week. You'll get to see some video from Dick and some of my video making bacon jam. And it's not going to be like hardcore tutorial videos, and we're not going to sit here and tell you the recipe, although we will give you the recipe. But we're not going to tell you the recipe and walk you through step by step of what we do. We're just going to basically kind of glaze over it like he was starting to do just now with his. And that way you guys can see what's going on. There will, spoiler alert, be a link to Southern Dreams Homestead blog post with that bacon jam next week. So you guys make sure that you check on that. There might even be a video on YouTube. I'm not really sure yet. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, one of the purposes of this podcast idea was he has this blog post where he does videos and blogs about things, and I was like, hey, if we talked about food, that could
Work
go
that
on
in.
with what you got going on, and then you can marry those two things together and make extra content a lot quicker. So you're
I
gonna,
hate
like
that
I
idea.
said, you're gonna see a lot of things
A lot of
that match
crossover.
up, but you're gonna see a deeper dive of the when he makes the bacon jam, you can go over there and watch him make the bacon jam. As where here you're
Oh yeah.
gonna see a couple snippets of video while he goes, oh yeah, and then when I was boiling it, man, it smelled so good, and I ate 4 or 5. We're gonna BS our way through uh the and talk and have fun about why we did what we did and all that. It's going to be a good time. It's not going to be like
Yeah,
a
it's gonna be
hardcore
a lot more
fact.
relaxed. Right, it's got a lot more relaxed environment when it comes to these podcasts and stuff, and more of a conversation rather than an instructional and a tutorial. If you want tutorials and stuff like that, but in fact, if you want tutorials on anything that we do or we talk about that we've made or whatever, if we don't already have something like that, if we don't already have a recipe or a how-to on how we did it, let us know, because that's more content for us to make for you guys.
Yeah, I
We'll
mean,
definitely look into it if nothing else.
our plan is 4 episodes a month, but there are months that have 5 weeks. So we're going to have content with, like I said, with your recipes. Maybe if you want breakdowns of other things that we've done and want recipe videos and something like that, maybe that's a 5th week content, or maybe just an extra, hey guys, we love you. You asked for this. We have 2 episodes this week because one of them is this recipe video for you.
Yeah. If nothing else, if you guys want to create a little content of your own and send it in to us, we'll be happy to put it up here. Even if it's just saying hi and whatever. Send us
Remember to
some
keep it
videos.
PG.
Yes, please keep it PG. I know for those of you that know us real well, it's a shock, but don't worry about it. We're getting there. We have a whole list of obscenity alternate phrases.
And if you learn them and you can say them, then cool, go ahead. But trying to monetize, guys.
Yeah, trying to make a little money eventually, at least.
Yeah. Maybe not right now, but if you're gonna send
No.
in your videos,
And the
if I
main
got to
reason why we're
keep
doing
this
it,
mouth clean, you got to keep that one clean.
yeah. The main reason why we're doing this, like we talked about, I think in episode 1, is we play games together all the time, and we always talk about food. Always talk about it. At least half of our conversation while we're playing games is about food. So we figured, why not just sit down and do a podcast? Because it's something we both talked about doing podcasts before. We talk about food all the time anyway. We could talk about food for 4, 5, 6 hours. So why not?
I don't know how many times that me and him have been just sitting here playing PUBG. Oh, I'm gonna drop here. Oh man, brisket I'm gonna make tonight, so good.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know how many times I'll be like, are you going to jump? Are you going to jump? Are you going to jump? Oh, sorry, man. I'm down here stirring this stew. Darn it.
it happens. Stew happens.
We talked one time specifically about broths, about bone broth and chicken broth and stock and stuff like that, and about how a lot of people, when they make it, they boil the chicken parts for an hour and call it broth, and that is not broth. That is a light chicken flavored water. Broth is I mean, it takes hours and hours, and I think we've discussed before that we both do 2 to 3 days of just constant heating and cooling and skimming and straining and stuff like that to get what we need. And I've got so much chicken and turkey stock in there right now from Thanksgiving. It's amazing. We'll cook a chicken, and all the bones and leftover pieces go into a bag and into the freezer. Anytime we cut any vegetable, the trimmings get put into a bag and into the freezer. And once a month or every other month, we'll make up that stock. So little things like that is things that we've talked about and just fed into each other's ideas.
Yeah, and we're gonna be talking about stuff like that even in depth because I do it a different way. Because I have rosemary bushes that I'm growing to massive amounts and I feed them all my vegetable cuttings. So, when I make my vegetable stock, it's different. But we're not talking about vegetable stock. We're talking about jams, jellies, preserves, marmalades, compotes, and chutneys.
That's something I was looking up. What is this? What is that? What is it? What is a chutney? A chutney is a spread in the cuisines of the Indian subcontinent.
Yeah, well, that's where they started. They originated in
Right.
India. And then Europeans, they do what they do. They take it and make it their own. And then it's only allowed
Right.
on these few things. But Indians were like, nah.
It originated in India. It's a gluten-free, spicy or savory condiment made from fruits, vegetables, and or herbs with vinegar. Where's it at? Where I missed it? With vinegar, sugar, and spices. So, I mean, it definitely falls into the category of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Preserves are basically jams.
Pretty much.
Well, excuse me. Jams are basically preserves.
Well,
Preserves are food. It's food made with fruit preserved in sugar, such as jam or marmalade. If you're looking it up, if you Google what is a preserve,
yeah, well, because preserve, that's a whole or big chunks
right?
of the whatever you're using, meat, for well, we've discussed in episode 1 the crazy amount of things you can do with it. Also a little in episode 2. But when I think jams, I think like you stuck a blendy one to it, you put a fine chop on it, things like
Yeah,
that. So that's where I
and
differ because with berries you just kind of boil and the fruit's going to kind of break up a little, or the berry's going to break up a little
right.
bit, but you don't even really mess with it.
And honestly, I agree with you. I do jams that way as well, and preserves are more whole and stuff. It's just this is just what the definition, on Google says, and Google doesn't cook, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. Uh, as far as a compote though, compotes are basically desserts. Like they are classified as desserts.
yeah. A lot of
Uh,
times you'll put like some herbs or some spices in with the fruit juice to make it, and then as soon as you make it, you pretty much go with it on whatever you're doing.
yeah, it refers to fresh, canned, or dried fruit that has been stewed in juice, wine, or syrup.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, definitely in the realm of what we're talking about. It's typically served warm or chilled. So I mean, you can make it and immediately put it on whatever. Like with a cheesecake, you could do like a berry compote to go on top of it, and it still be warm.
Yeah.
And it also says it can be served on its own or as the star ingredient of a dessert dish, like a custard or a shortcake. So
And they
I mean,
say, fruit chunks, whole fruit, whatever. You could
right,
use fruit and then sneak some meat in there. You can sneak
of
some kind of
course.
vegetable in there. Marmalades, that's citrus, but I could probably put some brisket in there or something if I want to.
I mean, an orange hamburger marmalade.
Orange ham marmalade, bro. Orange ham marmalade is the new. Orange grapefruit
I'm
marmalade. I'm doing it tomorrow. No,
down with it. I'm
I'm
down
not.
with it.
I'm not doing it
No, you
tomorrow.
still gotta listen. You still got a cheese jam to work on, homie. You
That's a
still got
rough one.
cheese jam you get to work out. Yeah, it's gonna be a rough one.
No, I'm gonna make it Gouda or something like that. It's gonna be amazing.
It better be good or I'm not eating it.
And then jelly, that's just juice and sugar, made just
Yeah.
like you do the jam, and then boom, you got jelly.
Depending on the fruit, some fruits have a higher pectin content. All fruits have pectin. Some have a way higher content of pectin than others, and you don't need to add pectin to it.
Yeah, I made a blackberry mint jam, which turned out amazing. And I didn't add any pectin to that because it didn't need it. But when I made the cherry jam, the cherry doesn't have enough pectin to get the consistency you want. So I had to add 4 ounces of pectin to that.
Well, also, you tend to add more pectin to jellies than jams because
Yeah, because juice.
the fruit is there. Well, yeah, the fruit is there. It kind of acts as a thickener to an extent. So you typically will put more pectin in a jelly, and even sometimes a preserve because you don't have, even though you've got fruit in the preserve, it's more chunky and it doesn't really thicken as much as a blended up blackberry might.
But the main thing is you take your fruit or fruit substitute, whether it be a meat, a vegetable, a
Meat
pepper.
is a fruit substitute. Yeah,
And
we
At
got
this
we got to
at
do
this point in my thought process, it can be.
it.
But
Can be.
you take that and you take it and you either get the juice from it or you get the juice and the thing, and you add sugar, and you've pretty much made almost all of these things.
Yeah.
One of them you add vinegar, and then that makes it different. The other one you add it with some juice and spices, and that makes it different. But it's pretty much all the same thing.
I mean, really, when it comes to cooking, that's about it because you want to boil all of it. You want it all to come to a boil, not for very long. You want to turn it down, Lower heat boiling so that you're not like congealing it instantly, because you'll make a gummy bear in the pot
Mm-hmm.
if you boil it too fast and too hot.
You want to go medium high at first, and then as soon as it starts to get to the where you turn that thing down to medium quick.
Medium to medium low, and just let it simmer, like
Yeah, yeah.
just barely bubbling.
You want that. You want to get it. It's just kind of like when you're making rice. You want to hurry up and get it to that bubble, but not going too far. You don't ever go to high because then you're messing
You're
things
gonna
up.
burn the yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna burn the rice.
But then as soon as it hits that bubble, you turn it down to just keep that simmer.
That also determines it has a lot to do with determining the thickness of what you're cooking, because the longer you boil something, the less water content there's going to be, so the thicker it will be naturally.
Yeah, yeah.
That's with anything. That you're talking about soups and stews is the same way. Well, soups are supposed to be kind of watery and runny, but say with a chili, okay, you can thicken chili with tomato paste or with masa flour, or you can just let it thicken itself by boiling some of the actual water content out of it.
Which I do for 3 to 5
Uh,
days.
I do that. I don't do it for 3 to 5 days. It's more like 3 to 5 hours, but
Oh no, you can
uh,
sit there and let it go on low and just keep getting the water out and adding water in and letting those flavors just keep
oh yeah,
stacking and compounding up for days. Oh my God.
I bet it makes a really rich chili too.
And not only that, but like you eat half a bowl and you're like, oh, I'm stuffed. And you're
Oh
not
yeah.
really stuffed. It's just there was so much flavor. You're like, ah, rah, rah, rah.
I used to be able to eat my weight every time I sat down for a meal, and I can barely eat a plate at this point, or a bowl of something. I guess it's just me getting older and my stomach's going, yeah, you've had enough, fat boy. Slow down.
But when you're making each, there's not many foods that don't work. There's like, there's going to be certain meats like I don't know if you want to make a chicken preserve.
Let's get real crazy. Let's make a chicken dragon fruit jam.
Like I don't think your light meats want to enter into the like I always say brisket cuz of the fat content on that thing.
Right.
Bacon, yeah, cuz fat content. That's going to be real good for getting that flavor without, you know.
I don't think a lighter meat would carry
Yeah, cuz you have to put
as
so
much
much chicken
flavor.
in there
Right. Well, I don't think it would
or
carry as much
stock.
flavor because well, I mean, chicken stock. If you just make a chicken stock, it's literally just chicken, then it's just going to be chicken and water. And chicken has such a mild flavor that you have to add stuff to it to make it taste like something. So putting chicken in a jam or jelly like that's you're not going to. The only thing you're going to get out of it, I feel like, is going to be the texture. I don't
Yeah.
feel like you'll get any actual chicken flavor out of it.
I mean, if you wanted to be weird and make like chicken pot pie jam, that might work because you're putting these more diverse flavors in there and kind of bringing out. It's going to still be weird, but I mean, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. Go ahead, do it. But I just don't see something like chicken
Yeah.
or too many of the porks just mixing in unless you're talking like a smoked pork, like a ham or a butt or something. Something with
Let's
that
do
big fat content.
let's do a spicy tuna jam.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I like spicy tuna, but I'm good too. I'm like,
Um, I'm sure there's probably like different fruits and stuff that don't have enough pectin. I don't know of them, but that
yeah.
they don't work too well.
See, like I want to try. I want to eventually try like dragon fruit and star fruit and just weird and like not weird but strange, exotic. That's the
Yeah,
word I'm looking for.
exotic. Yeah, yeah.
Exotic fruits as jams and jellies, because again, it's more about regional flavor everywhere I've been. So the more chance I can have to broaden my horizon when it comes to food, I'm willing to take a few risks. It's not going to cost me an arm and a leg to do it. I just kind of want to see what it's like.
Yeah, that's a great thing with when you're messing with jams and jellies and preserves and marmalades is you can make smaller batches. Like I
Yeah.
always make 12 4-ounce jars with a little left over every time, just because I know even if it's good or bad, I'm sending it out. You're getting actual reactions from the stuff I made. So when he gets the jam that I send him, he's gonna say, "Jam, this schnitzel's hard,"
Yeah.
and that's what it's gonna be, because that's what I made, and then I immediately canned it and it's ready to go.
Yeah, I can't wait to taste it. So I'll probably do the same with when I do the bacon jam. I'll do some smaller jars. I don't know what size, probably 4 ounce.
Yeah, I did little 4
Uh,
ouncers.
That's probably what I'll do too. And that way, if we don't like it, but it's still edible, like it's still a decent flavor. It's just not a flavor that we want to eat. We're not having to sit on a whole bunch of it or big jars. We can give little jars of it away to whoever we want to and say, here, try this. Tell me what you think. They try it, and if they like it, cool. Then you can have the rest of what we have.
Yeah, and I already know where I went wrong. It's just a gajilling, and the flavors are still there. It's really cherry. It's got a big cherry bite, and then the brisket on the back end, and it has like almost no smell.
Really?
It's weird. Like you have to put your nose in there, and you're like, I can kind of smell the meat. It's so strange.
That's weird. So it's very cherry forward then.
Yeah. Well, I put a lot of cherries in
I mean, I ain't scared of that.
there.
I ain't scared of that at all.
And they're dark cherries. It's that nice tangy cherry. It's not that sweet cherry. It's real cherry. So it's nice. Another thing to think about is when you're cooking something and you want to add a little bit of liquid, so you reach for vinegar, because vinegar pairs well with whatever you're doing. The cherry yields with vinegar well. A lot of strong flavors, vinegar doesn't come in and overpower them. It kind of helps elevate them.
Yeah.
So like
And
you were talking about balsamic vinegar jam. If you add bigger pieces of or more fruits and stuff like that, actually that's a chutney.
yeah. Well, I see a lot of people are scared of vinegar. When you start saying vinegar, they immediately think about, the nose closing smell of vinegar, and it's not always the case. It's not usually even the case, to be honest with you. If you find like typical store-bought 5% acidity vinegar overpowering, then I mean, I don't know. You're missing the fact that vinegar is in so many things already, like barbecue
Ketchup,
sauce, ketchup,
mustard.
mustard. I mean, all of your base condiments, with the exception of mayonnaise, have vinegar in it. So you're eating vinegar on a daily basis anyway. Don't be afraid to add a splash of vinegar when you need some liquid,
Well,
because
you
that'll
just
also
said
add
the
a little
magic
flavor
word.
to it too.
You,
What's that?
you said a
A splash?
splash. The
Yeah.
problem with vinegar is people don't know how to use vinegar. You get heavy.
Yeah.
And when you get heavy, then it just tastes like vinegar
Then it's
because you're
overpowered.
eating
Yeah.
vinegar.
Right. Then you're overpowering whatever you're adding it to.
Yeah, but like he was saying, it brings out the flavor. But
Yeah.
it's
It's very
the
much
way
like
you
salt
use
in
it.
that
Yeah.
it blocks a lot of bitter, because
Yeah.
there's that sour is something to take the place of the lack of flavor.
Not only that, but like say you were saying barbecue sauce, that vinegar is actually going to elevate, especially if you're using like an apple cider
yeah.
vinegar. That
Right.
vinegar with that little bit of apple is going to elevate all those spices that you put in there. So now those
Oh yeah.
spices are going to pop in your mouth because that vinegar's like, hey, here they are. Enjoy them. They're nice.
People talk about making jams and jellies, and they're afraid to do it because the recipe looks daunting, because there's salt and there's vinegar, and oh my gosh, I thought this was supposed to be sweet. Yeah, that's why you're adding 5 cups of sugar to it. It is going to be sweet. You won't taste the vinegar. You won't taste the salt, but those things will definitely help you taste everything else. So don't be afraid to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of a recipe if it calls for something that you're not used to.
And here's the thing, if you're not used to an ingredient, I talked about, I think it was in episode 1, that the great thing about cooking is that you can look for base ingredients to build what you think the base thing is. You may not be right,
Right.
but it's worth a try. If you find a whole lot of variations of a recipe that have vinegar in it, if you're looking
I know.
to add vinegar, Go find and then see how they use the vinegar. Think about
Yeah.
how they use the vinegar.
You
You
can
know.
build your own recipe by looking at other people's recipes. Like let's take for example a jam, or specifically a jam. They may put X amount of blackberries in this jam. Well, maybe you don't want as much blackberry. Maybe you want to add some strawberry. You want to add a strawberry blackberry mint for whatever reason. You just take some of the blackberries out and add strawberries in its place in about equal amounts. You could add more. You could change an entire recipe, take one fruit completely out and put another fruit completely in to change it out. And if you fail, it's not that big a deal. Try it again. See what you did wrong. Figure out why did this fail? Is it too gummy? Is it too liquidy? What do I need to do to this to make it better? And that's how you become a better cook, is by failing. That's how you become better at anything, is by failing and learning what you did wrong and not repeating those mistakes, knowing how to correct it on the fly. That's the big thing, is learning how to correct things on the fly.
I asked my son the other day, I said, hey, do you learn from your mistakes? Yeah. I said, all right, do you learn from being right? He goes, yeah. And I go, no, you don't, because you're right. How can you learn from it if you're already right? The only thing you can learn from is being wrong.
You learn from being right, but only after being wrong.
Well, I mean, no, because once you're right, you're right.
Right. If you do something right the first time, you're never going to try to do it a different way because you were right the first time.
Well, I mean, you're right. You might try to do it a different way, but then, you're going to mess it up and go, I'm going back to the right way.
Yeah. But if you're wrong and you change something and then you're wrong and then you change something and then you're right, then you know what you did wrong the whole time. You've learned from being right too. But it takes being wrong to learn from being right.
Yeah, but not only that, but on the road to being right, you just learned 2 lessons. And then you were right and you stopped learning.
Yeah.
So everyone thinks failure is such a bad thing. And to quote Adam Savage, failure is always an option. And the reason is because you need to be taught.
Yes.
You don't know everything. When you were a kid, you thought you did. When you're older, you think you do. When you're in the middle, you think you do. And the whole time you're learning you're wrong the whole time.
The day you stop learning is the day you die.
Yeah. So stop thinking you're right. Open your mind to the fact that you can be wrong, and then do something. And then when it's wrong, that's horrible. We're throwing that away.
Failure.
Yeah.
Failure. Because it is the only way you learn stuff.
That tastes like just old caca donut. We're throwing that away. Not having any of that. Back. I messed up. And then guess what? You'll turn around and it won't be the end of the world. And you may have wasted about $20, $30, but who cares? Go forward, do it again.
Caca donut. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm not trying to have no schnitzel donut. That ain't
schnitzel donuts.
That ain't the way I'm doing it around here. Fork that.
Fork it.
Fork it in the asparagus. Because that's the only way to eat asparagus is with a fork. I mean, you can use your hands, but I'd rather fork the asparagus. Well, I was going to talk about like how certain things would pair well with, you were talking about cheese on episode 1 and how, jams and jellies pair well with cheese. But maybe some compotes and some marmalades don't work too well with cheese. And it all depends on your cheese. So let's break into how pairing things with these things is different.
Yeah, I'm not sure that citrus and dairy are ever a good idea. That's how you make buttermilk, though. A little bit of milk and vinegar.
So it is a good idea, and you just proved yourself wrong instantly. Good job.
It's a good idea if you want to curdle the dairy. Yeah, so just approach that with caution, especially if you're lactose intolerant. Aside from cheese or bread, what are some things that we typically pair jams and jellies with?
Meat, glorious meat.
If you've never heard of anybody talking about lamb with mint jelly, you need to pay more attention to you need to go watch some old episodes of MASH. That's all I'm saying.
Was talking to someone today about future episodes we were going to have. One of them being liver and onions, And they were like, I don't understand that. That's disgusting. And I'm like, well, you've never had it cooked right. Because if it's
Right.
cooked right, the onions caramelizing just right with the flavor. It's a weird meat flavor, but with the onions pairing with it, it's nice. But if you want to take it even further, you could take the onions out and turn those into onion jam or something, and then bring them in.
Oh yeah.
Or
I think the next time I cook liver, I'm gonna use that apple onion chutney that we've got instead of just regular onions.
yeah,
I'll do that chutney and see how that works.
we've talked about it before. Meat's kind of like wine when it comes to jellies. You pair
Yeah.
it a certain way,
Right.
and every one of these cooking methods that we have, jellies, jams, chutneys, preserves, maybe not marmalades too much. No, I mean, marmalades would still pair with meat. You just got to be careful on how much, because your meat's going to overpower that real hard, real fast. You did.
Depends on the marmalade too. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm
depends.
saying.
There's really a lot of there's a lot of variables in that. It could be that the meat overpowers the marmalade, like with maybe a light lemon or lime kind of marmalade.
You'd
You
have to
start
go
getting like
fish.
you
You
start
like,
getting like a pink grapefruit or something like that.
yeah.
And then it's kind of, at least the grapefruit one that I've had and the orange that I've had before. You like here's an example. You could do orange marmalade with chicken,
Yeah, with chicken, but
like a fried chicken,
like we talked,
like an
chicken,
orange chicken.
that's a
Yeah,
bland flavor that just takes anything on its back.
but I'm saying like an Asian, like an orange chicken. You do the orange marmalade, and coat the coat the like the tempura or fried chicken with that, and
Yeah.
that's where you combine those, which actually sounds pretty good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I was more on the subject of like all meats and how they would fit. The marmalades is the only one that I would think that you can only do a light pairing,
Yeah,
because
a light meat with it. Yeah,
if you try to do it with a brisket or a steak, you might be able to get a little bit of that marmalade flavor to squeak in there, but your
yeah,
meat's
it'll
probably
get
going to
lost.
overpower that. Yeah.
It'll definitely get lost.
Other than marmalades, you could do them with all meats. No matter the meat, you would just have to pair the thing right.
Right. See, now you got me. Now you got me thinking about what goes good with fish. What would be a good like jam flavor or jelly flavor with fish?
Anything that goes good with fish. To be honest, if you did, you could even go with your dark berries, those hard flavors, and as long as you did it lightly, like a brush of it
Right.
on, you would be
Just
fine.
a
Yeah,
light glaze.
pretty much. You would be
Hmm.
perfectly fine. A couple little chunks hanging out on there.
See, and I'm
Salmon and
thinking,
cherry, that's a good
yeah,
combo.
I was gonna say, I'm thinking more like salmon or maybe even a tuna steak, something like that, but not like a. I don't feel like a freshwater fish would hold up to a jam. It has to be something a little meatier, something a little, you know, just got a little more texture, a little more steak quality to it.
Yeah, every time I smoke salmon for my wife, I do it in cherry wood, because cherry goes well with salmon from what I've heard. I don't eat it, so
In,
I don't know,
in
but man,
non-fish
I
eater.
smoke it very well.
I gotta get my smoking stuff together so that I can start getting ready for some of those episodes, some of the smoked meat episodes.
Anytime we're going to talk about meat as an episode, it's not going to be like, oh, this is the meat episode. Not going to happen. There's
Yeah,
going to be a chicken episode, a brisket episode, a bacon episode. Each cut's going to get its own show.
yeah. Expect a callback from that from the bacon jam on the bacon episode. Promise you it'll happen.
100%. Expect callbacks everywhere.
Yeah, I mean we're just going to be intertwining everything together anyway because that's
Yeah.
what we do.
Well, it's just going to be us having a discussion for the next however many years.
Yeah, I mean we've already done it for at least 2, so we might as well do the podcast, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're just
Just do
inviting
that.
you into discussions that we're having, except for we
Yeah,
taking the video game aspect out of it, so we're not distracted by that. So we could just sit here and think about food
yeah.
and
We're
go,
we're we're
oh
way
yeah,
more We're way more adept at cooking and eating than we are at shooting and fighting. This is what we're trying to say.
I mean, back in the day, I could have probably fought and shoot all kinds of stuff, but I'm too fat and old now.
I was talking about video games, but yeah, there's that too.
Oh yeah, well, same thing. It all revolves around the same thing.
My reflexes aren't quite as good as they used to be,
Yep.
and they used to be really bad.
Well, it's because now I'm holding this heavy arm and having to move that thing too.
Right.
Every time I try to go for the kill over here, I've just hit my belly.
We've gone from using pans as bullet shields to what they're meant to be used for, cooking.
As a matter of fact, I have one of the rubber PUBG pans over here in a box somewhere.
Bro, I just had a really good idea. We'll have to talk about it later about some artwork.
All right, guys.
See who we can get to do something for us.
You heard it. There might be some artwork later. Who knows? Maybe
Might be some artwork.
You got cliffhangers right here, live.
Let's just throw out there the phrase "winner, winner, chicken dinner."
I could probably do that.
I'm thinking me and you PUBG style, but instead of any weapons, we're actually wielding pans and tongs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I got pans. I've got all kinds of, because I was gonna do a PUBG contest that no one wanted to do, so then it fell apart. So I got all that stuff.
So you guys, we want to know from you guys too. What are your favorites when it comes to the chutneys and the jams and the jellies? What are your favorites, and what are some things that you've never tried that you'd like to try? Because sometimes it's better to kick around the idea of something that you've never tried with somebody who has tried it, and that'll encourage you to try it even more. Like, I'd never tried an apple onion chutney until Jesse made one. We were trying to use up a bunch of apples that we had, and somebody had given us a pretty good amount of onions too. And she's like, "Why don't we do this?" I'm like, "I'm okay. Sounds okay." And we tried it, and I put it on pork chops the last time we made pork chops. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I forgot to even tell you about that when we made the pork chops that night. Oh man, that apple onion chutney was bomb diggity on it.
Well, you talked about it on episode 1 that you were going to do that after we got done recording, or episode 2. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I don't think I ever revisited that and told you how it was. Well, I'm telling you now, it was bomb-tastic.
I was just making sure that they understood where the callback came from.
Yeah. Well, if you don't recall that, go back and listen to that episode.
Again, thank you.
Again. Oh, goodness.
Well, another thing is a lot of people, I guarantee when we're talking about jellies and jams, they can tell you about all the sweets they love. But you guys out there, you little wieners out there, I know you haven't even tried the savory side. And you know who you are.
You know who you are.
Get your butt out there. Jams are easy. Go make one. Go make a garlic. Go make an onion. Go make a bell pepper jam and then put it on top of your spaghetti. Who cares? Maybe it's disgusting. I don't know.
I would try garlic jam on spaghetti. That's for sure.
Yeah. Maybe
with no stuff.
Here's what you do is you make a garlic jam and then you toast your bread and then you put the jam on it and then you put the spaghetti on it and make you a spaghetti sandwich.
Spaghetti sandwich.
Make you one of them spaghetti noodle sandwiches, baby.
Make you instead of peanut butter, make it like I don't know what's a good Italian nut. I'm not sure.
Spaghetti nut. Make a spaghetti butter.
Make a spaghetti nut squash.
Oh no, here's what you do. Okay, I got it. Oh, yes. So you take you toast your bread and then you make your garlic jam or your garlic jelly or your garlic preserves, whatever you want to do. And you spread it on there, and then you make like a basil oregano butter or something, and then you put that on the other side, a little bit of cheese in there, slam them breads together, baby.
Oh, man. Got my mouth watering over here, dog. Holy cow.
And you just made a grilled cheese with garlic jam and herb butter.
It's basically an Italian PB&J.
Yeah, that's how the Italians invented peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh my gosh! I bet Milner would love that.
Hey man, when you throw away the concept that you can't, like I said, I don't like sweet and savory together, but when you throw away the concept that everything has to be one thing,
Yeah.
you get to dip your toes in a lot of fun stuff.
You broaden your horizons, man. It's just that's what life's all about. Don't be stuck in the same rut day in, day out. Break out of the matrix and do something different, especially with food.
Yeah. Because
Especially with food.
like I said, other than burning your house down in a previous cast, other than that, worst case scenario, it's nasty and you throw it away.
Right.
Don't burn your house down. Watch your food.
Please don't. This public service announcement brought to you by Mike&Dick and the Flavor Savors Incorporated LLC. Not responsible for you burning your house down.
Okay, but what was the public service announcement? You just gave out all our information and gave no one any service announcements.
Don't burn your house down.
Yeah. But that was you just covered that our insurance does. It's not on us if they burn their house down. But
Be careful with fire. That's
there
the
you
public
go.
service announcement. Experiment with food, not with fire.
Stir, don't burn.
When we're talking sweet versus savory, what do you think? What do you think a good sweet flavor versus a savory flavor would be in the same meal? Not necessarily in the same dish, but like we were talking about the garlic jam, and we were talking about like bacon jam. What those are still sweet. Of course, they're savory too, but those are still sweet because there's sugar added. So, what would you do to pair a sweet jam and a savory jam within the same meal?
Well, that would all depend on the vessel that you're wanting to drive with. If you want them in the same meal, you're gonna have to do some weird stuff probably, kind of like Skyline chili weird, where you're putting chocolate and spaghetti, and cinnamon. It's stuff that
Yeah,
doesn't belong, and people love it because they don't understand food.
they don't know any better.
I'm sorry, you guys are valid.
Mole chili.
It would probably be like a glaze on a meat.
So like the orange marmalade.
Yeah, if you were doing it, or like a cherry glaze on a steak, maybe.
You know
Something
what?
really simple and light.
Why not that? Yeah, the orange marmalade, like the orange chicken, basically with like a garlic jam dipping sauce kind of thing.
Well, what I was gonna say was like steak and potatoes is where I was gonna go with it, and I
Right.
was gonna like glaze a steak with some cherry jam, with like and there's my sweet, and then make like a garlic onion jam and put that in my mashed potatoes.
Ooh, interesting. I'd try that.
Yeah, I'd try it. It'd probably be disgusting to me, but I would try it.
I would try it. Yeah.
I'll try anything but fish, and that's just because I know what the outcome is. Never good.
You ever watch Masaharu Morimoto, some of his like personal videos and stuff? His son's got a TikTok, and they'll take like random fast food stuff, and his son will just buy a whole bag full of crap from some fast food joint and bring it home and say, "Can you make this gourmet?" And he'll do all kind of stuff. Like he did Starbucks, and he had cake pops and like lattes and espresso shots and stuff, and he like peeled the chocolate off of the cake pops, and it was really cool. So I'm thinking, the things that we're talking about is a lot like Iron Chef territory, where we're talking about stuff that nobody's ever really thought about before, except for when they started talking about it like in an odd way. And that's to me that's what excites me the most about food and talking about it with somebody, especially with somebody who really understands flavor profiles for different foods, is you never know what you're going to discover.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about cheese jamming and joked about that, and that would honestly probably it probably won't be good, but it'll probably happen.
Oh, it's
just
probably
because we
100%
want to
gonna happen.
see. Yeah, so like little things like that is where we're talking about. Don't be afraid to go out on a limb and try something, because you never know what you might invent.
Yeah, be
That
dumb.
somebody else just absolutely loves.
Reuben egg rolls, the best thing ever. Be dumb.
Be dumb.
because then you take like some Munster cheese and you cut it up and you put it in there too, and you put your mustard sauce, which you make after you smoke your Reuben, or after you smoke your brisket after it's been pickled, and then you put it in the oven to get some of that fat to render out, so you can take that fat to make a mustard sauce. Like I said, be dumb. Be dumb.
dumb.
Because who knows where it's going to get you. And every time I make those egg rolls, as I'm making them, they are disappearing. People behind me, you can hear the pain because they are fresh out of the fryer and people are grabbing them and eating them. Yeah. And they won't stop. So I have to also grab and eat, which is killing me. And it's good. And it's the best thing I've invented, really. And all I had to do was be stupid about things. So be stupid.
Take the flavors of something that you love and figure out new ways to make them.
Yeah.
Figure out new ways to incorporate those flavors into different dishes. So like Mexican pizzas, those are a thing. But there's also, that's a whole, it's not an actual pizza kind of thing. But then you take like a taco pizza. Any kind of, like, you ever go to CC's or one of those all-you-can-eat pizza joints, something like that, they always have some off-the-wall stuff. And they do it just because they're going, okay, everybody likes baked potatoes, loaded baked potatoes, so let's take and make a loaded baked potato pizza. It's got, like, sour cream and chives and bacon and stuff like that on it. And you think to begin with, that sounds kind of weird, and it is weird in the best possible way.
There's 2 to 3 episodes that I'm going to guarantee you go over an hour. Right now, I guarantee it. It's going to be breakfast, pizza, and hamburgers. Those 3
100%.
episodes I guarantee are going to be over an hour because I've tried every flavor combination as a pizza, as a burger. I've done as much as I can. Not only that, but,
Oh, yeah.
before we talk about hamburgers, we'll go into, grinding meat and stuff, and it's going to be nuts. We got a lot coming in the future. So much.
And you guys have no idea. And a lot of it, we don't even know what we're going to do yet. I mean, we know we have a basis of what we're going to do. But when we start talking about the savor versus savor, which is, our next episode, we're not sure what we're going to do until we get there. The only reason why we knew about the jams and jellies is because that was the first episode, first month, and we wanted to do something impactful. So this is going to be a lot of fun to see how each other tames the beast that is food, and how you guys are, how receptive you guys are to what we're actually doing. Because we really do want you guys to try the recipes that we're talking about and the ways that we're talking about using the food. So we're excited for you guys as well.
Yeah, and definitely comment. Tell us you tried the recipe and how it worked or didn't work, or you must have messed up here, or we must have lied there.
Yeah, what you would change, or what you tried, it didn't work, and then you changed it and this worked. Experimenting is the only way that you learn what you like, and it's the only way we'll learn what we like. Maybe you do something that we have never thought of.
Yeah.
Maybe cheese jam is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, maybe iceberg lettuce jam is the iceberg.
Yeah, it's the iceberg itself. A little bit of cheese jam on top.
And see, here's the thing: is you'll find I'm kind of an overachiever. When I do something, I do it so over that usually I get overwhelmed with it. I'm like, I gotta take a break for a minute. So I've already made my blackberry jam. I've already made my cherry jam. And I'll probably make a cheese jam before the next episode.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so when we go into Savor versus Savor, there's going to probably be 4 jams being talked about. I know that Mike's already made all these different jams and stuff that he could talk about the recipes of too. So don't think that it's just going to be, they have nothing left to talk about. They're going to talk about one recipe for an hour. I'm not watching that. No. It's going to be so much more than what you think.
Way more. We're always going to have little surprises. We're going to give you spoilers here and there, but I promise you there will always be little surprises. In fact, I have a feeling that as time progresses with this podcast, we'll even be surprising each other.
Oh yeah, I mean I didn't think that I was going to make a cherry brisket jam, but here we are with me having
Here
a
we
cherry
are.
brisket jam.
Yeah,
You
we
know?
might even surprise ourselves.
Yeah. So just stick around with us because it's going to be fun. And with as much planning as we've already put into it, it's just a matter of pushing the content out to you guys now. So with
And
that
we
being
will,
said, I'm Dick.
And I am Mike. Thank you guys for joining us on the Flavor Savers. Be sure to hit us on all of our social media, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Flavor Savors podcast. Be sure to follow us on our socials listed in the show notes below. We'll catch you next week with a brand new episode.